You see, Corbusier told me once, which I think is important, that remember there is somebody standing behind you who is better than you, and you are answerable to him.
The little I know about Doshi's past, inside that man is a sensibility that combines heroism with modesty. You know, right? You can't help feeling that he truly cares. He has a deep sensibility for the people that might live or work or occupy a building. He's thinking about the humanity of the problem rather than the grandeur of his own ego.
So Ramaswamy says, I am interested in small scale people. So I want this made, for a small scale, and therefore the buildings have to be such that everybody feels at home and not really awed by buildings. I said, I will make this place gardens. And I told Ramaswamy that we should have buildings. In fact, the board I met, I said, I will only make 3-storied building so that they are in stone and eventually they will disappear. So one of them says, but when they disappear, which means there will be no architecture. I said, more or less not architecture, but you will experience what you experience in Madurai temple. Then they kept quiet. See, reference helps that time. Because they cannot say Madurai temple is not good. So even as an architect, you have to be very quick, in answering them. In Bangalore, you won't find forest like this anymore.
Oh, yes.
It's gone, huh? I made the drawing, and I forget the name of the then a very nice person who was their administrative officer, and I made a drawing, and now you have to approve the budget. So pergola is between the two buildings and there is only column structure. So basically it is an empty corridor. So I calculated all the areas and then I got the budget approved, but the plan showed the pergola. So when the building started working, the man says, I should remember his name because he was the one. He says, why are you worried? It is approved in the plan, no? So you show is approved in the plan and go ahead. So it happened.
If you look at Mises' work or Korb's work or Aalto's early work, actually their training is neoclassical and it's all about composition, the creation of compositional space. And I know, Doshi is obviously much younger than them, but you can't help feeling that his training gave him an understanding of the nature of composition, but also the benefit of history, so that you feel that his work is reaching back into our sensibility, not only about how things combine to where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, but also recalling space and material and simplicity that takes us back into eras before modernism, so we connect with things that are so timeless and they have a gravitas and significance that is much greater than us as simple individuals today.
Actually, if you really go back to your childhood, and think about the childhood and say that this is how I enjoyed my life, and I was always wanting to be outside with my friends. And then this Kannadi was talking that I don't remember my college days, I remember my school days. The reason is there are no places given at a higher education like the child would use.
Last thing I would say, in my consciousness about our visit to the Management Institute, was the breathtaking simplicity with which everything was achieved. That I sort of call it architecture without adjectives. So our visit was humbling to come across this building that did everything that we could ever want to do in building ourselves, and yet here it had been done decades before and we hadn't really experienced it.
I am not an architect, that's the problem. For me it's a search. It's only search. Search for that unknown which I have not known. Neither I know how it will manifest. That's actually the essence of my work. It begins somewhere, ends somewhere, and in that process I grow and the work grows. And we both grow together. I was supposed to go and teach in Colombo. Examiner for Colombo. And I tell my wife, let's go to Colombo. Now, we land in Madras. That Srivatsav is staying there, so we stay with him. And I said, I want to go to Colombo, how do I go? He says, but do you have a visa? I said, no. He said, do you need to have visa? He says, of course. I said, what do I do now? And about a week was there, only 4 or 5 days. So I went to the embassy there and they said, no, you can't, you have to get to Delhi and all that. So after 3 days they say, you can't get it. Then I tell him that why don't I go to Madurai, another place. So my wife and myself made 2 weeks of trip. In between, so many calls came from Sri Lanka, Colombo to here and back and forth, and they did not know where we were. And that was the time, was the best period. I saw Madurai temple and other things there, and Tanjore and others, because then I found proportions, rhythm, light, and same structure, but with variations. And you see these long corridors and these columns going up and courtyards. And one discovers this, but you are also observing. I am observing the people there, and some people are sad, some are happy, some people transform themselves, and you see people rolling. So ritual is another fascination that I have been having from childhood. Mahabharata, Ramayana, see, these are all a useful things, because when you go back and you see these images, you ask questions, why the images are there, why it is like this, why the corridors shift like, but expansion. So that uncertainty I discovered here, that incremental growth. So all these things came from these understandings of Indian life.